Now then, everybody, we are here for the potentially final episode of the To Hull and Back podcast this season. We are in. We'll see what we can do in summer. Depends on what we've got to speak about and things like that. We'll definitely keep you posted. Obviously, before we start, our sponsors, as always, 6 Yards Out and Candy King. So 6 Yards Out is your home for retro memorabilia. You can customize coasters, phone cases, cushions, things like that with any sort of retro gear. You know, kit out your house in maybe the 93 inspired kit, something like that if you wanted, or a good Father's Day present, something. You know, brilliant prices, 4.2 stars on Trustpilot. And then obviously Candy King, the Hull's local business. So, you know, we like to promote local. They're a new pick and mix sweet shop delivery service. You know, all the comments they've got back from customer service in terms of feedback for how they speak to people, how quick their delivery is and everything has been top notch, and their mixes are absolutely brilliant. I've just had to stop myself from eating them because I'm putting on too much weight. So as we get into it then, we've obviously not done an episode in quite a while. We've had a few games, but time is of the essence, so we're not going to get into them all, and we'll rather not talk about the Bristol City game. We'll just ignore that, pretend that even happened. We'll do a Barnsley scenario.
Reading good. Yes.
Yeah, Reading was good.
I went to that game. Cardiff?
Yeah, Cardiff was good.
Yes.
Yeah, the Reading and Cardiff games were good.
Well, we've had some good home results recently. I guess our home
switched,
and away
record
switched.
Yeah. So, I mean, I went to the Reading game, so it was nice. I mean, me and the little one have been to 2 home games, and we've scored 5 and conceded 0. So it's looking like I'm going to have to get her a membership in it because she's obviously a lucky charm. So, well, we can briefly talk about the Reading and the Cardiff games, and obviously because they're positives. You know, a couple of good wins, which we'd not experienced at home for a long time. It was a long time coming. I think, was it the Cardiff game we played in the away kit? It took the shot and made the decision, didn't he, to try and maybe
superstitious.
Yeah, get rid of that superstition. It did. Obviously, well, we don't know if the kit worked itself. Obviously, we won, but I think one of the positives we can take from the Cardiff game onwards, and I think a lot of people will agree, Aliar Sayedmanesh, like, you know, came with a lot of hype. He did. We didn't get to see much of him because obviously he got injured. You know, came into the starting 11 against Cardiff. How do we think he's been since being introduced then?
Banging.
Baller.
What makes him different? What makes him so?
One thing
I appreciate how he plays.
One thing I was really surprised at, like you'd expect, you know, if he's been playing abroad or you know, he's a new player coming from abroad. We're signing him as a young player as well. He's not very experienced, and maybe he's got the qualities, like maybe Milinkovic. You know, he had the qualities, and young player came in from abroad, and then just didn't, or Ben Arthur or something, and then didn't assert himself. Whereas Sayedmanesh, his you know, full what's it called, pressing, and his work rate is, you know, absolutely terrific. And so, you know, he's got the skill and he's got the work rate, whereas some players who've got the skill maybe don't put in as much effort as they should do. Like I know a lot of people were unhappy with Grzycki because, you know, he didn't track back all the time, but that doesn't seem to be the case with him. And, you know, he scored his first goal from pressing and pressing the goalkeeper. So that's been the thing that's impressed me the most, but he's obviously got the dribbling skills to go with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's when these kind of players come across, especially young players, because it's easy to forget that this lad's only 20 years old. To come into a league like the Championship, which is very difficult to sort of land on your feet. I mean, you see players that are from like League 2 and League 1 struggle to make the step up to the Championship, and this kid's come from, you know, a league out of his country for the first time, out of his comfort zone. Obviously, maybe had a little bit more time to settle into the squad and everything, because with him being injured, he wasn't sort of thrust straight into the first team action and sort of, you know, would have spent a lot of time on the training ground getting used to the players and the system and the manager and whatnot. But as soon as he's come into the team, he's left absolutely everything on the field for me. He's like we say, his work effort he looks like he's got a bit of skill about him. But I think what surprises me and a lot of people, Will, and I don't know if you agree, is for what appears to be quite a lean and slim guy, he's quite physical. He's quite strong. He likes to get he likes to get stuck in, and he's not he don't feign away from a 50-50, does he?
He seems a bit shithousey, which I like. He seems like the sort of player who'll properly wind up the defence.
Maybe defenders don't expect it either because of his build.
Yeah, I think that is he's got a surprising amount of strength for when you look at him. And like you said, his work rate is similar to Eves. Well, that's the thing with Eves. Eves has got the work rate, but not really the pace and the reaction. Whereas Aliar seems to have the pace and the sort of ability to read the game fast, as well as that work rate.
Yeah, so he's got maybe a little bit extra in terms of what Eves can offer, but I think obviously Eves is different in terms of he's a bit more aerial and he'll hold it up better. But Sirenesh, to be fair, also in the air doesn't seem bad. He wins a few headers when it comes to him. Yeah, he's a bit like he reminds me of McLean. Do you remember Aaron McLean when he was obviously quite a small geezer, but he had a good jump? Bambi was the same as well, wasn't he? But
I hope he's a better finisher than McLean was.
Yes. Yeah,
he's not really had many chances. I mean, Burnsley was saying on the commentary like every 5 minutes, which got a bit annoying, that he wants to see him play with, up top with someone like Eves, and then maybe he'd actually have a few more chances to score. But I think for his age and his relative inexperience coming in and playing that number one kind of a sole striker role, he's done extremely well. And hopefully, apparently we should be signing him permanently in the next few weeks. So hopefully that goes through, and then we'll definitely have a very good, promising player for the future. Yeah,
for what seems to be quite a relatively low fee as well. I think 2 million. It's apparently been agreed, isn't it? Yeah, for a 20-year-old with what is clearly huge potential, is quite.
And he's better than James Scott, isn't he? We spent around that on James Scott.
Yeah. I mean, James Scott's an interesting one, actually. We can come to him later and ask about what
got an assist the other day.
Did he?
Yeah, first assist of the season.
Well, I don't think he's done much else, has he?
No.
So obviously, he took his first goal well against Cardiff. A nice little sort of dink over the keeper and then a slot into an open net. But with the confidence to do that against that goalkeeper, obviously in front of the away fans as well, was quite good to see. And then obviously Louis Coyle, who I've given him a bit of stick for his role in the right wing back system, because I don't think he quite has the speed nor the physicality to do that. Has been proving me wrong the last few weeks, and I'm quite happy for him to do that. Got himself a goal quickly after. Nice little left. He's scored with his left foot twice, hasn't he? He scored it against Forest.
It's a bit odd that.
2 left feet goals, yeah.
Well, depending on whether you're going to give him the goal from Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, should we get on to Forest then? We were talking about these miles back in the past anyway.
Yeah. We can get on to Forest. So obviously, potentially, could have been a really good game in terms of, Forest could have been in with an automatic chance. They fluffed it and lost to Bournemouth. So it was a dead rubber game for both, really.
Well, the only thing if promotion had been, if that last minute goal had stopped them getting promoted, that would have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
it was fantastic regardless.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing that was actually on the table to play for was where Forest finished in the playoffs. I don't know if they preferred to finish third or fourth in terms of who they were playing, etc. But they played more of a weakened side. It was a strong side that was more than capable of beating us. But the likes of Brendan Johnson and then Wet didn't start. And I thought, as the game went on, we more than matched them. They were still. We've got to remember that this team, since Steve Cooper's taken over, has taken a ridiculous amount of points, and they're a really good side. Third in the table. Well, was third in the table for a reason, and we more than matched them. Especially like we said at home, the forms turned around. What was your thoughts on the game then, Will? Because you was obviously there. What was the atmosphere like as well? Because was there many Forest fans in the home end spotted? Or
if there was, they kept quiet. And I didn't notice him when Forest scored, to be honest, because I was too busy celebrating City's goal straight away. I thought it was a good performance from City. I thought they got better as the game went on, to be honest. It was funny, you're thinking, they got Brendan Johnson, Jed Spence, Sam Surridge, all these players on. But when they came on, I thought we played better when they were on the pitch.
Rose to the challenge of it.
Yeah, and I think the part of it, and I know you'll be annoyed with me and Nathaniel for saying this, but part of it is when Longman went off, and Coyle came on, we suddenly looked a lot better as well.
Well, it was an inspired substitution as he scored, so I can't really complain too much.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think one of the only criticisms I've had of Shota in the last few weeks is that sometimes his substitutions either come it's the wrong player or they come far too late, whereas the subs in that game were spot on. They're exactly what we needed at the time. Like we say, we definitely deserved at least a draw. I mean, we probably could have, on the basis of good chances in the game. Actually, I mean, KLP missed that absolute sitter, didn't he? Just before they went up and got the penalty.
I'm quite glad it went the way it did, to be honest, because that celebration, running from where I was stood in E2 to E1 with everyone else, and I'm pretty certain I bruised a few ribs. It was such a nice feeling because it was the way that the Forest fans had been so over the top with their celebration. Brennan Johnson ran off, tore his shirt off, flares on the pitch to try to invade the pitch, acting like they've got promotion, even though they fucked it against Bournemouth a few days earlier.
Sounds like the celebration police.
Yeah, don't get into that on Twitter. Honestly, for the last 4 days, every single notification of mine on Twitter has been Forest fans replying to whatever I put about them. Because someone put a video up, didn't they, of our celebrations in the stand, and a Forest fan shared it, and they were all commenting saying, "Oh, celebrating a draw like that, it's embarrassing." When they'd celebrated a penalty for essentially what wouldn't have made any difference to their season, barring who they played in the playoffs.
This is what I was going to get on to.
It's just an equally meaningless goal.
That's why I think we all celebrated like we did, because it was like a fuck you, essentially.
Yeah.
It was a response to what they did. I mean, their celebrations would. I could see it on the stream that I had. Their celebrations were absurd. The amount of people that were trying to get onto the pitch for that goal, and I just sat there thinking, "What are you doing?" And then obviously when ours went in and I seen them, I thought, "Yes, go on," because that's exactly what we should have been doing in response to that. And
what the thing about Forest fans, they disappointed me overall because they brought a full lot. They brought loads. Fair play to them, but the atmosphere from them, I thought there were going to be more from them, considering where they are in the table as well.
Yeah, but obviously, if they'd have beaten Bournemouth, they'd have probably offered a bit more in terms of atmosphere. Maybe
4,000 fans shouldn't be that quiet, though, Ant.
Yeah, true. Yeah, considering what we had 18,000 in the stadium and they made 4,000 of them up, they should be quite loud.
That's another thing, actually. The first home game, we had about 10,000, just under. And then we've doubled it, which just shows how much has changed since that first game.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? I'm sure someone somewhere posted on Twitter that it's our high, maybe the City account actually. It was our highest league
since 2017.
Since the Premier League, right?
Yeah. Obviously, the away fans had a big part to do with that. But I just think also Hull KR were playing that day, and there was about 7,000 that went there, weren't there? So it could have been even more, to be fair. I mean, we spoke about attendances before anyway, don't we? We know that it's going to be tough for a lot of people to come back, and we'll see what happens in the summer in terms of pricing. But I expect crowds to go up next season, even if it's just a little bit. They obviously will.
Turning up at the Botanic and seeing Adrian walk-in is also going to help people think, I think I might go back.
Oh, actually, was you in the Botanic before the game then, Will?
Unfortunately not.
No, I've seen the videos.
I was planning to be, and I lost my wallet, so I had to go find that. And by the time I got back, that had already happened.
Oh, gutted.
So
it did look interesting. The videos and the pictures have all been fun. I know, Paul Reese put a picture up, didn't he, with that guy, and he's ended up being interviewed on like the Turkish YouTube channels and all sorts to do with and asked to do an interview with the actual like Survivor Series thing and stuff. I don't know what's going on. It's a bit crazy. But they sounded like they were a good laugh, them lot, especially that one guy that obviously got in the photos a lot. It seemed a good laugh. Imagine, obviously, how many owners are going to get behind the bar and start chanting with your fans and stuff. It's amazing, isn't it? Like that feeling. It's nice to see. And we can rave about Adjin and how amazing he is all day. But back to the Forest game then, obviously. So I'm going to ask you, Nathaniel, the penalty. Obviously, Tom Huddleston coming on for like his swan song in City colours. Harsh penalty, or do you think it was the right decision?
I've barely seen it. Ask Will, and I'm going to watch it again.
Okay. Will, what did you think?
What a Sun fan you are.
I haven't had time.
My completely unbiased view is he dived like a little shite. It was soft. It was soft. I've seen him give him, but it was a soft penalty.
Well, it feels soft because like he's come behind him because it feels unfair because Huddleston didn't even know he was there. But I think from what I saw, it's still a penalty. However, I'm going to watch it in slow motion.
Luke Ayling did earlier. Like he didn't do that.
No,
well,
but
he's collected the ball, hasn't he? And then he swung to clear the ball. And he's the Forest player has been very clever. Come on the blind side of Huddleston, come in front and made sure he kicked him instead of the ball. So, in the letter of the law, to me, it is a penalty. It was just very clever from the Forest player and a bit too cool from Huddleston.
Why are we focusing so much on the penalty and not what happened 30 seconds later?
Oh, because Stonewall penalty. It's Stonewall penalty.
Shut up, Nathaniel. No,
it's annoying. No, but I thought the funny thing was that when we scored, everyone runs to the corner with Kyle. Huddleston goes back and shouts at the ref because he was still annoyed at the penalty. But it's a shame. Should we talk about Huddleston? That's a good segue.
No.
We'll talk about
something happened 30 seconds after the penalty.
So obviously,
goal goes. This?
The
penalty goes in. Wait, Will. Right. So penalty goes in the 92nd minute. We all think that's game over. Even Baz tweeted out, and that's it. That's wrapped it up.
Right, would do, Forest fan.
I still kept listening to the radio, honestly.
But then we take the kick off. We go up the other end, and a certain Louis Coyle just decides to take a bit of a spontaneous chip into the box with his weak foot. Forest defenders absolutely nowhere. KLP sort of swings at it. Whether he touches it or not is up to debate. It ends up in the far corner.
By just a hurtful swing in the box, you mean a belting finesse strike right into the bottom corner?
yeah, totally.
It's one of those, though, if Lewis Potter isn't there, the keeper would have dealt with it, but because he sees Lewis Potter, he doesn't know whether to move or not.
Yeah, it's KLP's presence that sort of leaves Samba in two minds, because if KLP touches it, he's going into the other corner.
So in a way, it is Lewis Potter's goal, isn't it, really? If you think about it like
well, he's
that.
got an assist.
Not if he's not touched it, which he didn't touch it, so really it isn't his goal.
Oh, I have to zoom in and look at that now.
On one of the replays, it does look like he has a tiny touch, but only on one of the angles. I would personally give it to Coyle because...
I'd give it to Coyle because KLP didn't touch it.
Well,
that's always a good sign to give it to a certain player.
I'd give it Longman.
It's like McGuinness and Greaves last season, though. At least McGuinness got a brush of it.
Yeah, we should give it Reed.
Do you remember when Bowen scored against? Was it Charlton or Forest? I can't remember. It was some team in red.
Yeah, it was Borough.
It was someone in red, and he gave it to Eves. And he scored from 30 yards.
Well, it is his goal though. So
it's Coyle's goal. I'm not having it.
It's weird how deflections work, isn't it? Because if you take a shot at a defender, but it's going on target, but it deflects in, it's not an own goal. It's that player's goal. But if you are on the same team and it hits that player and goes in, it's
the dubious goals panel doesn't care about the essence of the goal. It just cares about who touched it. That's all it really matters about.
Well, it's Coyle's goal then because KLP didn't touch it.
But it was a goal. Irrelevant. Whoever scored it, it doesn't matter. It was a goal.
It looks like it touches it, but I don't think he did.
And then
bounces right as he's about to touch it.
Some absolute limbs in the East Stand. It's an absolutely beautiful video to watch. It is amazing to see that sort of energy in the stadium again. Hopefully that's sort of replicated next season, and when hopefully we're challenging for a top half finish.
I want to say I'm on that video, but I think me and Rodri, who I stand in front of, had already ran by that point to E1. So I don't think I'm even on that video. I've already gone. No, I've already gone by the time that video is already...
No, I don't even think Lewis Potter's anywhere near it.
Thank you.
No.
But we ended up with a point. Yeah, we scored. Yeah. We ended up with a point.
Respect the point.
When you go 1-0 down in the 92nd minute, you're always going to take a point, aren't you? And obviously it meant
terrific
character. Our season. Yeah, it meant nothing to our season. It probably meant nothing to Forest other than they're playing United instead of Luton.
It meant a lot to Forest, really.
Well, it means a lot to whoever gets promoted because
Forest would have gone from playing Luton to playing Sheffield United, and the form difference between those two teams is massive.
Yeah, but you say that, but I went on a Nottingham Forest channel the other night and they wanted Sheffield United.
Why? They just beat Fulham 4-0.
Described Luton as a horrible team to play. So
well, I hope Luton go up regardless.
Their record against Luton,
everyone wants Luton to go up, don't they?
Well, except Huddersfield and Sheffield United and Forest.
Yes.
Anyone but Huddersfield.
Everyone, like every neutral fan, wants
I
Luton to go
hope
up.
they want them to go up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any neutral fan, that isn't like has some sort of connection to like Sheffield wants them to go up because they just got relegated. Like that's boring. So yeah, I mean, of course we got Matt Ingram, Reece Burke, and Snodgrass, all at
And Bradley.
Luton. And Sonny Bradley. Yeah.
But so obviously we ended up with a point. Means nothing realistically to us. We finish on 51 points and in 19th place where Nathaniel wanted us to finish because that's where he predicted apparently. Was there any standout players in that game then? Could we give man of the match to someone? Was there
Brennan Johnson looked good. Oh, you mean from our team? Well, I mean, Greaves seemed to put in several really good tackles. So I was surprised. I think Honeyman won the...
No, Greaves won it.
Oh, Greaves won the man of the match. Well, I think I'll go with the majority vote. Greaves deserved it.
Do you agree, Will?
Absolutely, but obviously I'm biased because Greaves is my boy. But
Greaves...
yeah, to be fair, all the defence, no one had a bad game apart from Longman. Sorry, Nathaniel. Longman didn't have a great game.
Huddleston gave away the penalty, so technically he had a bad game.
I wouldn't say he had a bad game. He just had a meh game. It was a final sort of. Whereas I thought Longman didn't have a good time, but he hasn't had a good time since he signed permanently.
Yeah, it's an odd one that. It'll be better next season, I'm sure. Because it doesn't help that he's been playing right wing back. He's
played worse since Shotter's come in. So whether or not he's asked him to change his role up a bit and play a different way to what McCann did, obviously, it just seems coincidental that his dip in form came.
I would say, in comparison, Coyle's played better since Shotter came in.
Yeah, and there's probably a couple of players you can. Obviously, Sean McLaughlin came in shortly before, but since then, I think has sort of his distribution and the way he passes the ball and how comfortable we seem to be at the back seems to have been a bit better than under McCann. I mean, we can go into the changes between Shorter and McCann obviously a bit later on. Because obviously big changes in terms of like Deshaun Bernard came out as well, didn't he, for Alfie Jones, and didn't really make a difference because Jones is just as good, etc.
I was going to say, I don't think that was a case of one of them playing poorly. They're both good.
No, it's a similar situation. I mean, I think. Well, so no, actually, we'll move on because I was going to talk about like obviously Tom Huddleston coming on towards the end. He only made a bit of a cameo at the end, but showed us his range of passing as he does, how cool and calm he is on the ball, how much of a cool customer. Do we maybe look back at Huddleston this season and think we probably should have seen more of him, or are we quite happy?
Well, he had that fantastic 20 minutes against Peterborough at home, last year, and it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, but then he got injured after Peterborough, and then he's hardly played since.
Peterborough.
Yeah,
that's why he only had 20 minutes.
So if he'd not been injured then, maybe he would have played more. But it's odd though because he's played against Luton. He seemed all right and did some good passes yesterday and almost got the assist for Lewis Potter and did well against Everton. But so whenever he's played, he seemed pretty good, but he's just not played that much. But maybe he seems like he's done well, but really his fitness, behind the scenes hasn't been good enough at his age, maybe to do the sort of system that Shota wants to do. And we've had the younger players, like we've had Slater in instead, and maybe we need more energy in the midfield. So maybe that's why we've not seen them. But it's been a bonus really just to have him, again for another season and have him involved. And I'm sure he would have passed on some good knowledge to the younger players. So I think even though he's not played that much, it's still nice to have had him.
That Greaves pass out to Coyle right at the death was Huddleston-esque.
You could say that.
Yeah, because he'll definitely be working on, passing techniques and stuff with players on the training ground, 100%.
He has had some poor games. Like I remember against Stoke, he did not have a good time as well.
Oh yes, he got absolutely torn to shreds then.
He did not have a good time. The thing with him is, I think he's just, because of his fitness thing, it's just he could never have played regular for us.
If we've had him maybe 2 or 3 years ago,
when we last had him, if he was still like he was when we last had him, be fine. But
be fine.
A few years have been then.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell in it because you don't know if, like, obviously he didn't get injured, if he'd have played more, and if maybe Shota didn't fancy him in the current system when the change of management comes. Because I noticed in his sort of his statement when he left that he didn't play as much as he wanted to, and he put change in management as a factor in that. So maybe he's had a discussion with Shota when he came in and said, "Look, you're not realistically in my plans for what we're going to do. So, maybe prepare for, leaving in the summer kind of thing." I know we'll get on to like the how he left scenario towards the end as well, because it seems like there's been a bit of miscommunication. But like, we don't know how much he would have played if he didn't get injured, and whether or not he was a big part of McCann's plans and then not Shotta's. But like you say, just to have him at the club for one last season, just to be able to see him in City colours one last time, it'd have been nice for him to have maybe got on the score sheet or something towards the end. But just to see him playing for City again was just like it's like a recall.
If he had been the man who'd scored that last minute equaliser after conceding the penalty as well, that would have just been.
Yeah, because I was gutted for him when he conceded the penalty. I thought, oh no, because realistically, we all knew this was going to be his last game. When he conceded the penalty, I thought, oh no, that can't be the
best way to end, is it?
No, but no, Coyle managed to obviously save us towards the end and save his blushes, kind of thing. But so looking back at the season as a whole, then, so like we say, we finished 19th. We're on 51 points. We were fairly clear from the bottom three. After spending so long looking over our shoulders at the chasing pack. Like we've all said on Twitter, successful season. We'd have all took staying up before the year, wouldn't we?
Yes. I mean, at the start of the season, you offer me 18 for new owners, I'll be cutting your arm off and taking it.
Oh, so you're quite disappointed? We finished 19th, Will.
Well, whatever, I don't care.
I mean, 19th was a very good.
The more important part of that was the new owners, to be honest.
Exactly, yeah. Because even if we'd gone down, but we still had new owners, that'd still be kind of good. Because if we went down with the Lambs again, I don't think that they'd want to put money into the club to get back up. But I think staying up comfortably and getting new owners who seem to be not only new, but we seem to really like Adrian. Those are two great things.
Yeah, because I think obviously the new ownership was the ultimate aim for every season. Was always we needed new owners. Staying up was this season's playing aim, and we ended up with both. So in terms of like, if you'd have said to us, like we say at the beginning of the season, that we'd have stayed up quite comfortably and ended up with new owners and a great new owner as well, who seems to have great plans with the club and connects with the fans a bit more, we would have all sort of been in dreamland. So the fact that it's happened and we've seen it happen and it's there gives us this massive sense of optimism going into next season. I mean, it's a long time since I've come into a season this excited. I know this one's only just finished, but I'm already looking forward to seeing who we sign in the summer, where we go, what our plans are, how we're going to be, maybe a bit more competitive, because the thought of potentially challenging for the Premier League again within the next few years is great, because that that thrill of being up involved and all the focus around it and being on telly a bit more, which is quite handy for the ones who don't live in Hull. But it's getting to the stage now where we can actually look forward.
Armchair fans.
Armchair fans. I mean, you subsidise my membership for me, Will. I'll come back next season. How about that? No, I didn't think not. But it gives the whole fan base a reason to actually look forward to coming back next season. And if anyone's actually contemplating getting a membership, it's going to be the best position that we've been in a long time for someone to go, actually, I do fancy coming back, because it's going to be quite decent. So
I wouldn't be surprised either. I think memberships will go down in price as well in the summer.
Oh yeah, definitely. Adrian has made it very, very clear in multiple statements, whatever he puts on social media, that the fans coming back is his main aim, really. He wants to get fans back in the stadium. He knows, he's seen what's happened under the previous owners, I imagine. And he's really making a real effort to get, like what he did in the Botanic. He's making a real effort to get in and amongst it all and just connect with the fans and give them some reason to actually feel like they're a part of the club again and bring them back.
It's so nice having someone who gives a shit.
Yeah, it's because we've not had it for so long.
Nice.
Yeah, it's such a different. I mean, I was asked to explain it on the Forest channel the other night, and they were all quite negative because apparently everything I've said about what Adrian's done and said sounds very similar to what Fawaz did with Forest, and obviously that didn't go too well. He promised them the fucking stars and whatever, and it didn't end too well. But no matter how much I insisted that Adjin is sincere and different, they didn't quite accept it. But here we are. He's going to prove us right.
They've been banned before.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be skeptical, aren't you, until he give you... Well, you've got to believe him up until he gives you a reason not to. And so far, everything he's done's been amazing. So, he's kept his word in pretty much everything he's done. So here we are looking forward to next season. So let's get on to then some awards. And obviously, the club did their own end of the season awards and whatnot. And KLP basically...
Well, those don't count. Ours count.
You mean
could have won all 5.
The Hull City, please stay keener, please... Award.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because obviously he could have easily won all 5. But I think he got Player of the Year, Supporters Player of the Year, and Actual Player of the Year. And then Greaves, he got Young Player, and Longman got Goal of the Season. Was it against Everton?
Yeah, and Jevon Mills got Academy Player.
Yeah. So they were the official ones. So now we're going to do the to Hull and Back ones. And obviously...
Whoa. Before you start that, doesn't everyone want to know what they said at the start of the season?
Let's do that. I thought that'd be a good thing to end. Let's do it now, Will. Let's do it now.
I've got... Well, I know what Nathaniel wants to, but... well, I've got down what position and who we thought was going to be the key player.
Okay. So did we all say Lewis Potter?
No. So firstly, I'll start with you, Nathaniel, because guess what? You said 19th.
Wow.
Lovely stuff. Bad news, you said Wilkes would be our key player.
Oh, no.
Understandable.
I forgot.
And you were close. You were one day, you got 18th. But fair play, from what I read, you said Honeyman, the key player.
Yeah, I mean...
You could argue.
He's been a key player.
I played it safe.
Yeah.
Myself, I also said...
What do you mean he played it himself? Wilkes was the top goal scorer.
Myself, I said Eves. Like Eves. I said 18th. I didn't say Eves at all. I said Greaves would be our key player.
Well, yeah, I think...
Which I will happily take in my biases.
We have to take your first answer. Will said that Tom Eves would be our main player this season.
Yes. 2
I'll say that as well.
2 18th. And then 19th. I think we did pretty well there. With the season predictions, we did pretty well.
Mr. Incognito, Joel Robinson.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Joel, for yesterday. Said 20th. And also said Honeyman.
Oh. Well, you could argue Joel was right because we would have been 20th had the points deductions not been in.
Or you could argue Joel was wrong.
We were really the 20th best team. We finished 19th, but we were the 20th best team. So
Nathaniel, are you saying
full predictions? That's pretty good, though. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying that you don't be mean to Joel because that's still very good.
No, we can be mean to Joel. Joel's only
well, he never shows up, so he can be. We can say whatever we want about him.
If anyone, by the way, if anyone is listening, obviously because we are doing these live now, if you want to comment what you said and what you predicted for us in the season, or you just want to comment on anything that we're talking about at the minute, do comment because we can pop them up and chat about them. That's the benefit of us doing it live. I keep forgetting we're live.
So any people listening back later.
Yeah. So anyone who's watching live, do comment and we'll try and obviously get them up on the
comment
channel.
On the YouTube video below or something. Yeah.
And we'll get a flood now of people saying, "Oh, I thought we'd finish 19th and KLP would be top scorer."
Wow.
Good guess.
So after that, then, because we're all pretty accurate, so we'll move on to like the to Hull and Back version of the reward. So each one of us can have our say on basically the same categories the club did, and then a couple of fun extra ones that might be worth the discussion. So obviously, we'll go with the main one. So Player of the Year first. So Will, who was your Player of the Year and why?
I mean, it's kind of obvious I'm getting like Joel now. Jacob Greaves played every single minute of the season. Yeah. Never really put a foot wrong for the most part.
Except the several penalties he gave away, yeah.
Sorry? What was that? I can't hear that from... Did someone say something?
Nathaniel mentioned something about penalties from Greaves or something.
Oh, I don't know. I picked the person who won the Young Player of the Year. So obviously the club thinks he's decent as well, Nathaniel.
Yeah. No,
Greaves.
Okay. And your reasoning is just because he's played every minute and been consistent. Yeah,
he play every minute, been pretty much consistent. Yeah, I mean, if you play every minute, you must be doing something right for a start. Because what is it? I think only 6 players in the entire championship did. 2 of them playing for Hull City.
Yeah.
Technically, Lewis Potter did not play every minute. He got subbed off in the 94th minute against Preston. So on the first day. But to be honest, if that was the 94th minute and the game ended in the 94th minute, I guess that counts.
What you're saying there, Nathaniel, is Greaves is more reliable than Keane Lewis Potter.
What I would say is that Lewis Potter had even less time than Greaves on the pitch and still outperformed him. That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, yeah.
So
there was
Nathaniel,
6 players.
Who's yours and why?
I'll go Lewis Potter. Why? Because no. Greaves has been absolutely fantastic.
You was going to do the Ryan Longman.
You say Ryan Longman, I will.
I'm not saying Ryan Longman for every single. He comes up several times on these.
I know which one he'll definitely come up for.
Yes, the best Ryan Longman impersonation award. Yeah, no, because we've been so terrible in front of goal, and if we didn't have Lewis Potter, we might have gone down or might have been much closer to getting relegated. He's been the top goal scorer. He's been the only player who's kind of really well outperformed where they would be expected to be in terms of goal scoring. We've had a few players chipping in, but we really needed him to come up with a bit of magic, and he's won us a few games. So that's why I'd go Lewis Potter.
I would have to agree, only on the basis that we would have been relegated if we didn't have Keane Lewis Potter this season. He's, it's taken into account as well. Like, he was good last season, but he's better this season, and it's in the league higher and in a team where, it's easy to remember this lad's only 21, and he sort of shouldered the responsibility of trying to make sure that he can single-handedly win us games. And that, in terms of his mentality, to me, just speaks volumes about where he's going to be, because it's very tough for someone like that to just go, right, no, this is it. This is my club. I'm going to keep us up, kind of thing. Because to me, he's much better than he was last season, and it's easier to obviously to perform worse than you did in the league below. But he's performed better. He's been our main man. Obviously, he's now catching the attention of Premier League clubs and etc. But it's for me, he still needs to work on his decision making at times. Obviously, the odd 30-35 yarder where he could have passed it to somebody out wide. But that's the selfishness of a forward, isn't it? I mean, and the fact that he's very versatile. We've asked him to play in so many different positions this season, and he's done it. And he's been great wherever he's been asked to play. He's been played in either wing back, either wing, number 10 position up front. He's played pretty much anywhere across the midfield. To me, that just shows how he's willing to just knuckle down and get it done. And obviously 14 goals, was it 13, 14 goals, something like that. Outstanding in a team that's only scored 40 as well. So, yeah, I mean, I can make an argument as well for Jacob Greaves. We all could. I mean, Smallwood or Sean McLaughlin as well, I think, would be notable mentions for their contribution over the course of the season. And Honeyman, the only reason I wouldn't give it to Honeyman would be because obviously he missed so many games at the beginning with injury. And to me, like, player of the year needs to have been throughout the year kind of thing, like your consistency over the course of the full season.
Oh, well, you've knackered my next choice.
Right then, so the young player of the year. So who's your young player of the year, Will?
Oh, Brandon Fleming.
Okay.
But he didn't play the full season, so I can't pick him. So Jacob Greaves.
He's not the overall player, so I think we're allowed to, when it's a young player, you can have them fewer. Let's say that.
That's just my preference, Will. You can say Fleming if you want to. Why would you say Fleming? What's he done?
Bit ace. Again, he's another player who's coming to the side. Another player who's coming to the side, not expected to be okay, but I think he's outperformed what anyone possibly could have expected, to be fair. I mean, what was he in team of the season? He was in the team of the month for about 3 months straight, wasn't
he? Yeah, I think he got about 7 team of the weeks in his first 2 months, in 2.5 months or something in the team.
And considering he only came in January as well, it's like you wonder what we could have been like all season if he played all season. I think his improvement from where he was. His all-round games, especially with his partnership with KLP out left as well, was really, 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 really good as well.
I think the thing is, with Fleming, in any sort of cameo appearance that I've seen of him from when he's played in other seasons, because he's always had injury problems, hasn't he? And he's always struggled to get into side. But whenever he's played, he's always looked exciting and good. One of the memories I have from Fleming was when it was our relegation season, our first one under McCann, when we played against Huddersfield and we lost 3-0 away. And he actually played really, really well. I remember turning to Joel and saying, he's class. He's going to be really, really good. And then we didn't really see much of him the season after when I expected to in League One. But like you say, yeah, since he's come into the side, he's been absolutely amazing. And it's just his ability to both attack and defend, I think, is a rare commodity in today's football. Fullback's either good at one or the other. He's fairly adept at both. Like, you can trust him to do one-on-one defending, whilst he's more than capable of whipping in a good ball into the box and getting an assist. And his partnership with KLP is lethal as well. They both understand each other, obviously, from their youth days and into the first team. Their partnership is something special. So I can justify you giving that to Fleming. Will, what about you, Nathaniel?
Young Player of the Year. Well,
Young
I mean,
Player
that's a difficult one, because I'm not going to give it to Lewis Potter because he's Player of the Year. I want to give it to someone else, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to obviously say Ryan Longman because he's the youngest player, but then you did say Fleming, and I mean, Longman's had a proper season at Wimbledon before, so I guess Fleming feels younger because he's not played as much for us. So yes, I suppose. No, let's go Longman. Why not? Obviously.
Oh, you bastard! I know. I mean,
Young Player of the Year.
I actually forgot he was only 21.
Hey, well, I guess the amount of times I've mentioned him, it's like he's been a club legend. He's been here, 15 years or something. So.
No, but are you legitimately saying Ryan Longman, or are you saying?
I can say what I want, right? So Ryan Longman.
You can. I'm just thinking, you've got Greaves.
You could give a legitimate answer, or you could give your answer.
Ryan Longman's been really good. He's been the Young Player of the Year
for about 7 games. No, right, fair enough.
I like Fleming. Greaves. Greaves is young. Greaves is the second best player of the season. Greaves is Young Player of the Season. Greaves.
Yeah. I just said Greaves. Obviously, because I gave my main one to KLP, you can't give it to Greaves. To me, I think the impressive thing about Jacob Greaves is that obviously we mentioned before that he played in League 2 on loan, and then he played for us last season in League 1, and now he's playing for us in the Championship. So he's literally made a step up in the Premier
League next season.
Well, hopefully not. Unless it's with us.
Next season, I was going to do that.
Oh, well, yeah, true. But because he's stepped up the league tier system, like he has, and sort of adapted to each league and become a mainstay in the side, again, like KLP, speaks volumes about his mentality, his character, his ability to adapt to the league. Because I do think that he had quite a rough start to the season. Obviously, everybody did. We struggled for results, but I think he got bullied a lot and he made a lot of mistakes, and he seemed to be a little bit out of his depth, but he soon turned that round. To me, that shows that sort of resilience and to get over it and to learn from your past mistakes. And he became the bullier. So he sort of wised up a bit, got a bit more physical, and looked at his positioning a bit better, and he improved so much more. And since, like, obviously switching to the 3 at the back, which I think complements his style of centre back so much more, where he can come out with the ball like Maguire used to do and sort of cause problems. Like, he ends up down near their byline at times, like a left winger, and it's crazy to see like somebody so tall legging it down the pitch like that. I think Sheffield United did something similar under Wilder, didn't they, where they had overlapping centre backs and that. But no, Jacob Greaves has been phenomenal. You could have easily given it to Fleming, like we say, or Sean McLaughlin, but I'm sticking with my he needs to have played all season mantra. I'm not going to go against obviously what I've just said. We've got I'm going to stick a comment up because we've got someone else is a bit of a Fleming fan. So they said Fleming to me is the most improved.
Jumping ahead a bit there.
Yeah.
Is that a question we've got?
No, it probably will be one that's coming up, yeah. We've had a few from earlier, actually, that we've not spotted. So we've had a few. So Max Tiger, if you're still watching, he's always a watcher. Cheers for watching, mate. A few comments about how bad we are against Stoke. Sean McLaughlin, someone said for 25. I don't think he is.
Yeah, he is.
Is he?
I don't know why, because you said the young player, and I was like, "What are you on about?"
Well, it's like Doherty and Elder and Honeyman are all like 27.
Why am I under the impression that McLaughlin was like 23? I don't know.
Well, because he was 23 when we bought him, and he's hardly played since. So.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, so I'm just stuck in that. Wasn't he like 21 when we brought him across? I don't know. Can't have had him for that long.
Stop avoiding the awards. We want to talk about Smallwood now.
Do the awards.
All right.
This is the unsung hero.
The unsung hero. So I think Will's given his away. Who's your unsung hero, Will, and why?
Could be the king that is Richie Smallwood. Mm-hmm. He's Ashby Mark II.
Yeah,
but better.
Is that your reason?
I'm just saying that to see how your reaction, but whatever.
Well, I don't remember. So okay.
You're too young, Nathaniel.
Too young. Yeah. Fine.
I think what you say in terms of him being like Ashby is, even when you look at it from like in terms of how he's sort of felt within the fan base, is similar as well. Because Ashby always used to be hated by half and loved by the other half. Yeah, he's now looked upon as a club legend, and now Smallwood's here. He's getting the sort of the same treatment. A lot of people would be very, very quickly to say, "Nah, get rid of him." In summer, he's been awful. Whereas he's actually been, I would argue, one of the most important cogs of this team.
Whenever we drop him, our midfield just falls apart.
We don't have any bite, do we?
No.
And I think one of the criticisms I used to have for him was his passing range, and I think as the season's gone on,
his improvements has gone on.
His ability to ping a diag behind for the likes of KLP or Longman on the other side has got much better as the season's gone along.
It was nice to hear that Shotta wants to keep him round as well.
Oh yeah. I think that's
good lad, Shotta.
He's a club captain, isn't he? I think a lot of the lads are probably behind him as well, and he's another one who's really rolled his sleeves up and tried to sort of take this season by the scruff of its neck and say, no, I'm going to get us out of this kind of thing. And no, I agree with you, Will. I'm going to say unsung hero for Smallwood, so we'll skip me. But Nathaniel?
Well, I mean, I was going to go Smallwood. No, I was going to go Smallwood, but then I thought, well, we've waxed lyrical about how good Smallwood is for the last 10 weeks of the season or so. I'm not going to go Smallwood because I don't think he's unsung anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, obviously there are parts of the fan base that don't like him, but I think to be the unsung hero, you have to be unsung. And although at the time that he was still here, we were giving him a lot of praise, I'd go the unsung hero of the season is Grant McCann, because we've stayed up. We're congratulating Shotta and the team. Well done. But McCann was also a very big part of that. So I'm going Grant McCann as the unsung hero.
You know what? I'm going to allow that because my other choice was Tony Pennock.
Oh, okay. Well,
because obviously he's leaving.
It doesn't say unsung player.
Yeah,
sure.
Because he's leaving the
club. Could be Adjun.
Unfortunately, Tony Pennock, and what he's done with the academy is fantastic from where we were.
Yeah, it's sad to see him go. No, I mean, no, I'll give you that. I think McCann. I mean, he's one of them, innit? Like. His overall championship record is
but I can not say that he can't have that.
Although
he did well.
He did well, and if we hadn't been in the position, like Shotta almost said in the interview, he was getting towards saying that he's kind of thankful that we had a certain amount of points before he came in, so we could keep us up. And McCann did a good job in the end. So.
They don't agree.
Well, maybe they should come on the podcast and have a debate.
No, don't try and gaslight people like that. I don't blame people for not agreeing with you there.
No,
yeah, because you could argue it wasn't.
I completely get where you're coming from.
The 3-5-2 is the sort of McCann. If McCann changed to 3-5-2 on purpose, then maybe it would be more justifiable. But
I don't think he did.
Maybe the unsung hero is the player that crunched Louis Coyle, so he had to go through at the back. Maybe, I don't know if he got injured in the game, but
yeah,
whoever it was
who forced the formation change. Yeah,
yes, it's him. Yeah, Louis Coyle's ankle or something is the unsung hero.
Baxter's not a bad shout.
Yes, but everyone sings about him.
Everyone wants him to stay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Baxter's unsung. Yeah, I'd agree with Nathaniel because I think whenever Baxter plays, the entire fan base loved him. Obviously, we did the League of 72 feature where we spoke about how he fully intends on being challenging for a place at Chelsea, which is admirable, but given Chelsea's situation at the minute, you don't quite know what's going to happen there. So he might actually have a good chance at that, but hopefully we bring him back permanently. But no, I don't think Baxter was unsung.
He's not coming back. Unfortunately,
I think we're going to definitely try.
Coming back.
Yeah. Anybody else?
But there's a chance, but
Class Adjun in the pub. Yeah, no, I kind of gutted I didn't go to that. That game would have been great to go to just for that experience in the pub before, and then the goal at the end of the game. That would have that'd have been worth the admission fee totally. But I'm going to have a look at membership prices next season and see what I can justify doing. See if I can get.
You looked at membership prices at the start of this season, bought one, and they never turned up.
Because I changed jobs and I ended up working weekends. Will there was
no excuse.
That's the most valid excuse you can have. Right, so unsung hero. So Richie Smallwood from me and Will, and then Nathaniel going with the out of the box suggestion of Grant McCann.
Can I suggest another more strange one?
Yeah, shout out to Tony Penny.
Well, technically, if Andy Cannon wins promotion with Stockport, he's been unsung by us, and he'd be Stockport's hero in the National League. So maybe that's another one to look at.
You're going too far now, Nathaniel.
And moving on. So we've got I think this is quite similar, really, but most improved. So a player who maybe started the season quite poorly and ended it strongly. Have we got any names to throw out for that one, Will?
They didn't start off poorly, but no one expected anything of them. And I didn't want to say Fleming again, so I said Sean McLaughlin. Because no one, let's be honest, no one expected anything of Sean McLaughlin when he first came into the side. And I imagine most people were like, oh, I'm not sure about that. But like Fleming, he came into the side and he's just been nothing but consistent. And his partnership with Greaves and Jones/Bernard, they've just been a perfect back three for what we've done.
Yeah. Well, I would tend to agree. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I was going to say Fleming, but I thought, well, he's hardly played. And I was going to say Longman because that just gives him another award. But but then I just thought, as before you said McLaughlin, I think that's probably a good shout because he did play last year. He's played, for 2 years, and I didn't expect him to play that well. And when he started playing so well, it was like a bit of a joke that, Sean McLaughlin is the brick wall of Sean McLaughlin. And then he did become a really great player. So I think that's a very good shout.
Yeah. I mean, I was just scouring through my head then at other players I could probably say, other than McLaughlin, but I can't justify saying anybody other than, I could say Smallwood, but for some reasons similar to the fact that he was an unsung hero, but no, like you said,
Smallwood was ace all season. What are you on about? He hasn't improved at all. He's just stayed at the ultimate plateau.
The fact that McLaughlin sort of came in from being what most people would have considered being like a fourth, fifth choice centre back, they'd have never chosen him to start, and then coming into a back three and being as solid as he was and proving how good he is on the ball too. I know he's made a couple of poor errors where he sort of lashed at a pass, but that's going to come.
Bristol wasn't good for Sean McLaughlin.
No, that was poor. That was
actually. Can I change my opinion to something half complimentary and half derogatory? Eves, or at least my opinion of Eves, has been improved because the last 2 seasons I've thought, Eves is rubbish, and he had been rubbish.
You were wrong.
But then this season I thought going into the season, Eves is rubbish, but when he's played, he has put an awful lot of effort in. He's been a very good, useful player. So actually, I think I'm more happy to say Eves.
I didn't think of Eves because for me, he's always been ace.
Yeah, well, that's delusion. So.
Oh well.
Well, we've got someone who agrees. Eves has improved a lot. Maybe more system than anything, but he keeps going, doesn't he? Gets a goal here and there. Fleming most improved though. So they say Fleming has the most improved. But with a special mention to Eves. I think the thing is with Eves is we all knew what he offers us. He does do non-stop running and everything like that, but we probably wouldn't have had him starting above McGuinness when he was here, or as a lone striker, because I don't feel like he does that role very well. But since he comes into the side this season, especially around the January time, he was pivotal to the way we were playing, and he has played very well whenever we've asked him to, apart from like his bit of a brain fart against Huddersfield, where he essentially lost us the game. But He's other than that, he's been great all season. Obviously, we'd like to see more goals from a striker, and that's probably the biggest criticism of Eves as a Hull City player. But in terms of performances, you couldn't get much more out of him this season. I don't think he's been reliable in terms of grafting and pressing and trying everything he can to try and get that goal. It's just missing a bit that bit of quality in the delivery. I think at times, I think set pieces have had a lot to do with a lack of headers and whatnot this season as well. Yeah, I've got another Eves-related comment. Eves has the best goals per minute ratio in the whole team.
Yep, he did last season as well.
Yeah, he always seems to be honest, because he doesn't really play that much. So,
yeah. I mean, the problem with Eves is, and I think we all know this as a fan base, that to get the best out of him, you've got to play a more direct way, and you've got to get a lot more balls into the box. And you've
got to change the way you play.
The last 2 seasons we've not done that, and since we signed him, we've not done that, because even the season we signed him, we had Bowen and Grzycki. Grzycki liked to put the often cross in, but Bowen would always cut it and shoot, wouldn't he? So, you can't sign a big striker like that whose aerial ability is his strength and then not put the ball in the air. It doesn't quite work. It's like what Liverpool signed Andy Carroll and then kept trying to play on tiki-taka on the floor kind of thing.
And Benteke.
You've got to play to their strengths, haven't you? And we haven't done that with Eves. I think he's much better when he plays as part of the front two, and depending on what Shota plans to do next season, I don't think he's realistically going to do that with us. I mean, I could easily get you a Gillingham fan up who can tell you about how much they love him because he was a goal machine for them, because they played to his strengths, obviously in League One, but we had him in League One and he didn't hit them kind of heights, did he? So, yeah, I think Eves is a frustrating one in terms of we'd have loved to have it worked out better, but unfortunately hasn't. The next one then, so we've done most improved. So our best signing and why, Will?
Well, I put two options because I was thinking I'll put down a loan and a permanent because both of them need to be talked about. And
Cannon and Walsh,
of course. Nathan Baxter has been him and Ingram. I can't believe we've had such good a duo of keepers. I can't think of the last time we had a great duo of keepers that were constantly swapping out at the team. And I think Baxter being as good as he's been, has pushed Ingram to be better as well, as good as Ingram's been recent in the past. And it is such a shit because Baxter always comes across like he loves being here as well, or he has done anyway. And just that, it's such a shame that we'll never see him in the City shirt again.
Yeah, well, possibly.
We might not.
We were.
Maybe 10 years when he's past
it. Yeah.
And my second choice is, I'm just going to say it as the fans would say it, 50 grand Regan Slater. 50 grand, I say. 50 grand Regan Slater. Played football the City way.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the Slater one, innit? Do you agree with me, Will, that he seems a better player this season than he did last as well?
He seems better every game. It's better every game.
Because he's managed to dislodge Greg Dockey, which
Sheffield United thought he was only worth that much. It's mental.
Yeah. You can imagine there's a few add-ons, probably, but paying an initial 50 grand for him is still insane. You'd have wanted a bigger sum and add-ons, realistically, wouldn't you? If he was with us,
it makes you wonder because we was after him in the summer and we couldn't get it through. How much different would the team have been if we'd had him all season?
Yeah, that is interesting because Dockett has not had the greatest season, has he? And
no, he hasn't.
Slater would have probably played a lot more. And obviously, he's actually just reached 50 appearances as well, didn't he, Slater? Which
for us,
yeah, which is mad considering he was on loan with us last season and then only signed in January. So he's played a lot.
And he didn't play that many times last season.
I know it doesn't seem like he played a lot last season, did it? But somehow he's managed 50. I'm not quite sure how the maths in that, but it must be correct because the club said it.
Come on off the bench a lot, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. I
couldn't choose between the two.
Two good shouts. What about you, Nathaniel? You can just say one, or you can go for Will's version of a permanent and a loan.
Oh no! I'm going to explain that. Well, there aren't many signings that we've made this season, like a huge amount of them that have actually played an awful lot or done very well. I won't go Bernard because Jones has been really good, and I can't go back. Can't go Baxter because he hasn't. Well, no. I think maybe Slater is the best kind of deal we've made for 50 grand. That's great, but the reason why I will say Longman, obviously, and no, I am gonna get these kind of serious, is that I think he's played the most of any of the signings we've made, possibly, and if we didn't have Longman, who fitted in at right wing back because we had Coyle and Emmanuel injured, someone else would have had to gone there, and we didn't have Slater at the time who's played there, so we would have had a real issue. And he's come up with a few decent, important goals. We got him for quite cheap, and he's still a very good prospect. I'm very surprised that we got him in January. So I don't think saying Ryan Longman is the best signing we've made is that bad, especially if you're only choosing the ones
around. And
if you've been here all year as well.
You could probably say that Longman was the better winter signing, and then was not a very good January signing.
Yeah.
Yes, the best loan signing has been Ryan Longman, and the best permanent signing has been Slater. How about
that? What the best loan signing?
Well, yeah, because he's done a whole lot more than Baxter did. Because Ingram, has been really good as well. So even if we didn't have Baxter, I don't think the difference between Baxter and Ingram would have caused a huge shift. I think Baxter is better, but I think that's, poor Ingram. He's good. He's going to get promoted to the Premier League soon, possibly. So
with a harsh introduction to Luton life.
I'm just trying to find a loophole in each of these awards to give it to Ryan Longman.
Well, the viewers know.
I think Bernard had a good time as well, and I think we were underrating him a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I think in terms of loan signings, we've actually, barring, I think there's only been 3 loans that have ended up working out for us realistically, and that was Bernard, Bernard, Baxter, and Longman for the first half of the season. We're all very good loan signings, but the rest of them have been quite dire. I think Force has been poor, Walsh has been non-existent. Syed Manesh has turned out to be quite well, but he's going to turn into a permanent signing. I don't know. It's been a hard one this season because also it was hard for us to recruit in the summer, wasn't it? Because we had the transfer embargo and we couldn't spend money. So the likes of Randell Williams, I thought he was quite a decent player. Injuries kept him out the side as well. And maybe the
I forgot about Williams.
Yeah, we've got so many players that Andy Cannon signed for us, and then we sent him
George
out.
Monker,
Andy Cannon was a absolute McCann signing that was never going to be a shotter. That's the
I
thing.
never understand that one because what happened is we signed Cannon, who'd just come from Portsmouth, and Portsmouth replaced him with Ryan Tunnicliffe. Now I don't know how good he is really, but Tunnicliffe had played for like 3 or 4 championship clubs. Why didn't we just sign him? Don't get it.
I can't answer that, Nathaniel.
No. Cannon.
Go tweet.
I think Cannon has found his level in National League.
What you mean, getting promoted to the Football League?
Yeah, Big Dish.
Go on, stop that.
Special mention for Big Dish.
Well, they just bottled it almost. They've lost 3-0 to Wrexham, so they might not even be going up now.
The Ryan Reynolds team on the way up. I'd love to be owned by Ryan Reynolds, but we've got agents, it's okay. My signing of the season, I'm going to have to agree with Will. It's going to have to be Slater, just for the terms of value for money, his potential, his age, everything comes into it. He could easily be here for another 5 or 6 years, and we would still be getting him to his prime and seeing him get better every season. And the fact that he's currently at a level where he is now, that he's dislodged Greg Docherty, who was so good last season, shows he's come here with an intent to start every game. Because I worried that when we signed him in January, he wasn't going to get much game time, but he's literally kept at a performance level that's in sort of insisted almost to the manager that he has to be in and around the starting 11 all the time. And I have put him in my team predictions above Docherty pretty much every game since January. So he's huge potential, like we say, and for next to nothing really. We might as well sign him for free. Unreal bit of business, and Sheffield United must be looking at that going, I think we made a bit of an error there.
Well, it might not be if they get Premier League, to be fair.
Whoever negotiated that sum could have probably got a bit more, but
the way we're talking, I mean, we've got a lot of good, exciting players that we can look forward to, but I mean, we keep talking about all these great players we've got. How can we finish 19th?
Because we've got players that have got huge potential, but they've not really reached it yet.
We don't have any strikers, that's why.
Yeah, and no one's scored goals. Because if you look at our record, this is something I've said multiple times on other pods, the only thing really that stopped us from being a mid-table side is the fact that we can't score. Our defense has been fine all season. We've not really, barring the Bristol City game, we've not got battered. And the Bristol City game was because it didn't matter. And tactically, I think we got it all wrong. But over the course of the full season, if we'd have had, say, a striker on other than KLP and a striker through the middle who's on 10 to 15 goals, we'd easily be about 14th, 13th. There wouldn't have even been questioning relegation from like February onwards. But it's just the fact that we've sort of struck out with strikers this season that we've ended up in the situation that we have. So
I know that since Shota came in, we actually have been. I think the table says based on since the moment he came in, the table since then we'd be, I think, 15th.
Yeah.
So we have improved.
Yeah.
And I think we've improved defensively since Shota's come in as well. And defense was probably one of our strengths before he came in too. So he's made us slightly better in that respect. And obviously we just need to find that bit of quality in the final third now and a goal scorer up front alongside hopefully KLP who stays and will be a bit of a force next season. But so biggest flop. This one will be interesting because I think you could probably say about 4 or 5 different people.
I've written 5. I've written 5 names. I'll give all 5, but I'll pick one in particular. Right. So Marcus Force, Liam Walsh, George Moncur, and then I picked 2 players who didn't join us this season. They were already here. Josh McGuinness and Malik Wilkes. Now, I think Wilkes is he was injured for a lot of it. Feels a bit harsh. Walsh has only played 10 minutes, even though that's appalling. That's almost not enough to even call him a flop.
It's not his fault, really, is it?
Yeah. He was signed because he had a good free kick against us that didn't go in. Moncur, I have no clue what happened there. He seems a bit... I don't know what's up.
I don't think we're playing him in the position that he naturally plays in at all.
We're not playing him.
I'm sure that he was a left winger when he played for Luton, and we never played him there, really, did we?
There's something about him I don't like as well. I don't know what it is. Nothing against him, but I don't know what it is. Marcus Force has done nothing. But for me, Big Josh has been fucking shocking for us this season.
He was dreadful, wasn't he? Poor guy.
And it really upsets me because I really liked McGuinness. And last season he had a great season. And this season he just couldn't do it. He just could not.
I feel like because he got promoted with us and, he's played for Bolton in the Championship and he's got promoted again with Wigan. I feel like he's just like he's going to be desperate to find another League One team. Otherwise he's going to have another dreadful year in the Championship.
Is he going to be like the League One Mitrovic?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah, but he hasn't scored that many goals at Wigan.
I know he hasn't, but
he's.
I think
Will Keane's blown him out the water.
He has. Fair play to him. I think that penalty against Peterborough just says it all for McGuinness' time this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, McGuinness was poor this season.
And what about you?
Go on.
Go on, Nathaniel.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go biggest flop of a player we had last season and biggest signing flop. No, we didn't. Well, biggest flop, I guess, from last season would be Wilkes, who I thought was going to be the key player. I mean, we've mentioned his name in almost every podcast, especially like the first half of the season. Just shocking, just in every regard, just terrible. And it's a shame because he's a young player and he just bad attitude and he's got the talent, but we just don't see it. We've said it all before. And then biggest flop signing wise was Forsh, because I thought he was going to be an absolute revelation. I was amazed we'd signed him. And come in with a really good record and jinx, and then scored 1 goal which he almost missed. It was a tap in and he almost hit it over the bar. So
I don't think we ever played the football that he liked playing, to be fair.
No, I mean why do we keep signing strikers that can't play up front by themselves and then play them up front by themselves?
I was under the impression again, like similar to Moncur, that Force was a winger. I'm sure he was a right winger.
No,
and I thought that's
he's a striker.
But because I'm sure I saw him playing out wide for Brentford whenever I seen him play, but I don't know. Maybe he just drifted out there.
Yeah.
God knows. But yeah, no, Force was quite poor.
McGuinness, we play him up front, and he's a target man. But even McGuinness's hold-up play and Aliar's, more of a
Force
winner,
couldn't even open the ball up,
Porsche,
could he?
and just dear me.
No. And
we used to play Will
off.
Keane up front by himself in the Premier League. Poor guy.
I got told off multiple times for criticising Force, and I just thought, I'll leave it now. I'm not saying anything.
Because I love my Scandinavian players, and he's Finnish, and that's a great pun as well. And then,
Greg Dock.
Doherty was another one I was thinking of, but he's not been awful. He's just sort of been average. So
because I think the thing with Doherty is that because of how good he was last season, we expected him to sort of, especially in the absence of Honeyman, we needed him to step up and be our late run into the box midfielder that grabbed a couple of goals and whatnot. I just think that I thought for the first half of the season, Doherty was okay. He wasn't terrible, but then from January onwards, I don't know. Even when he came on off the bench, he seemed way behind the game and just not. I don't know. It's tough because with Doc, I think we maybe asked him to maybe play a different role, and that's why we saw a different side to him, because I think he had more license to attack last season than he did this season, but similar to Wilkes probably. But Doherty was a consideration of mine, but I'm going to stick with the same one I said for Football League World, and I'm going to say Malik Wilkes. I'm going to agree with because I just.
You've always had an agenda against Wilkes.
I have no Malik Wilkes agenda. He was good last season. He was our top scorer. The thing is with Wilkes is he has phenomenal talent and his potential is through the roof. His attitude and his willingness to reach that potential, however, is obviously a problem because at whatever side he's been at, Barnsley fans couldn't stand him. And I think now we're seeing the reason why. And for me, the way he started this season, like he completely changed his playing style. Like I can't see, like we had this discussion with Baz on the episode, didn't we? That he seems stockier, he seems bigger. He's playing with his back.
He regressed,
he's not
didn't
running
he?
in behind. Yeah,
halfway through last season, he added what we wanted to this game. Good decision making, and he'd actually cross it once in a while. And then completely just went back to that. Went back into his shell. Yeah.
And I know he's been injured for the vast majority of it, but for the first half of the season, he only scored 3 goals. And for someone who scored 22 last season, I know it's a step up. You'd have expected him at the beginning of the year to have contributed a bit more, and he didn't. And that was obviously a big part of why we struggled at the beginning of the season. For me, there's too much on his shoulders.
The one thing I'll give Wilkes is this season he scored that last-minute goal against Borough, which made the Borough fans fight each other. So he's always got a plus there for me.
That might get mentioned later.
I watched. I
know what you're going to say because he should have squared it to Eves. He should have
squared it, and he made it look so difficult the way he put the ball in the net. But I was watching Nathaniel's goal montage, which he put on Twitter, which if anyone's watching is decent. We've only got 40 goals to see. He did it in 2 parts. And Wilkes' against Borough came up, and obviously the first one was that fluke off the post onto the keeper into the net. And then Wilkes is to seal it in the last minute. Now, he could have just shot and put it in, and he decided he did some weird chop inside.
Unnecessary skill, isn't it?
And if he was going to chop like he did, he should have squared it because that was what that cut inside was for. And he didn't. He put it in there. But obviously, he scored, and this is an absurd.
He had completely scored, man.
But it was just how difficult he made it. Was
ice in his veins. Malik Wilkes lives life on the edge.
Yeah. But we needed more.
Malik Danger Wilkes.
I do miss Wilkes being good though, because it means he doesn't do any interviews, which are great.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, like our front three last season, KLP, McGuinness, and Wilkes scored like what was it, 50 plus between them or something ridiculous. And then this season we've only had KLP who's really stepped up and actually scored goals. And I know Wilkes has, like we said, been injured and not played for quite a while, but. Like the beginning half of the season, he didn't really look like he was going to score either. His performances were poor. He wasn't really in games, and we felt like we were complaining about him a lot. And McGuinness the same, was so poor, wasn't doing the things that he was doing last season well. It was. I don't know. They didn't carry a momentum through for some reason. It just, we expected, we needed more from Wilkes, and the reason I think we've not scored that many is because Wilkes hasn't performed.
After Keane Lewis-Potter, who's our second highest scorer?
It's Longman or Honeyman in it?
It was Honeyman on 5, but Longman on 5 in all competitions.
I can't believe you didn't say Tom Eves.
Well, it's also Eves on 5.
He's also Eves on 5, yeah.
Yeah.
But that just shows you how much different it's been from last season, how we've only had one player getting double figures.
as if he thinks he's the flair player in the team and doesn't have to do the hard yards when we need 11 players to fight a game. That was my criticism at the beginning of the season.
He's like Grzycki, but just not as good. So you can't get away with it as much.
At the beginning of the year, when we were playing that 4-3-3 that we played last season, KLP and Wilkes had the license to sort of stay up front because realistically, the quality that we were facing meant that we had enough players back to deal with it. This season, when you're playing against higher caliber of players, we didn't get away with that, and we were punished regularly for it. When we went on that barren run after the Preston game where we couldn't win, it was a big part of that, I think. And Wilkes, when asked to trap back, you lost him in the game because he obviously didn't want to be doing it. And when he did do it, he just sort of half-assed what he was doing. And I think that's why it's so frustrating with Wilkes because, you know, if he really put his mind to it, he'd be a phenomenal player. And he'd probably be toting it, you know, Premier League teams would be looking at him. And you just think he's wasting his career because he's not willing to you know, grind for the performance levels. He should be looking at KLP this season and thinking, actually, I'm quite good. Look what he's done. Yeah. That could be me with him alongside him. We could have been on 14 each kind of thing and we'd have been safe. And, you know, it's frustrating with Wilkes. I think that's the label for him is just frustrating. And I wouldn't be heartbroken if he left in summer.
I also spent enough time on Wilkes.
If he stayed.
On this
podcast this whole season. Can we ban Wilkes?
One comment from Teton, who is obviously a Forest fan, thanking us for scoring in the last minute. No worries, Luke. I'm hoping you stay down. You know, just for your fans.
That's nice. He's given his precious time by listening to our podcast, and you treat him like that.
Yeah, well,
poor guy.
The fans on Twitter have been barraging me for 2 days straight, so I'm out of sympathy. So that was biggest flop then. So goal of the season. Another one that I think we're going to have to mute Nathaniel for. Will, what was yours?
Well, it was one of two, and both of them were score against, I'm sorry, Luke, Nottingham Forest. KLP against Forest away was a cracking goal.
Overrated.
So was your goal, but whatever. And then obviously yesterday's thunder bastard from Louis Coyle.
Okay. I feel like the Louis Coyle one tongue-in-cheek and your serious one is the first.
No.
That's what the goal meant.
Of seeing that goal go in and everything.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And the context, perfect.
All right, then. Nathaniel, yours?
Well, best goal in the league, maybe Ryan Longman against Bournemouth, because the one against Bristol's good, but then he cuts in, you know, Eve's assist, cuts in, beats two Bournemouth players, you know, late in the game.
Saddled with Eve's assist, Nathaniel.
Top corner, banging celebration in front of the away fans, you know, wonderful. But that goal against Everton, like I've never felt so much vindication. You know, Ryan Longman putting one in the top corner against the Premier League team, you know, in front of the cameras and the magic of the FA Cup. Absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic how
wonderful.
That goal made us lose 3-2.
I know it took a Premier League team to extra time. So, you know, what's your tone?
KLP against Posh, I think it was better than both.
Obviously, Ryan Longman.
I agree.
Yeah, that was a very
goal
good
against
goal.
Posh was good. KLP's got a couple of blinders this season.
Mine would be obviously the Longman goal.
Mine would be, and it's because I'm a huge fan of these kind of goals, is the Tom Eaves one against Swansea. Now,
that was my other thought. Yeah,
the whole excitement of the takeover and the new manager and the promising of attacking football and whatnot, and the new style when he came in and the tiki-taka short passing move, it was brilliant. All game, like all that first half anyway against Swansea was absolutely amazing. And I just remember watching the ball go from side to side into the middle. Smallwood as well, rounding about three players, being comfortable.
Every player passed it at one point.
Yeah, it was one of them goals where everybody touches it. It was crisp. Every pass was forwards. It meant something. And then the cross from Fleming into the box, and then obviously Tom Eaves to top it off. Anyway, it was one of them goals that I just love watching. They're my favorite kind of goal. You can smash them in for 30 yards anytime you want. Like them kind of goals where it's a whole team effort, the passing, the movement, you know, the effort to do it, to me sort of wins that. That's what I voted for in the actual one as well.
That's the goal you want to score every week, every game, isn't it?
You would love to see that every week. Yeah.
But
and that's the kind of goal that Swansea like to score. So it was kind of like annoying for them because they pride themselves on being a possession team and whatnot. And we sort of turned it against them, which was quite quite interesting. So that was mine, with a notable mention to KLP's against Nottingham Forest the first time round, because that pass from McLaughlin alone was just fantastic. And the way he took it down was first class. You know, it's not an easy pass to take down that off you from over your shoulder at all. So off the sort of the season ones then, so we're going to like podcast related ones now. So our favorite guest. So if anybody listening has been a listener of us throughout this season, if you've had a favorite guest,
I mean, there's one answer here, and if anyone picks something else or they're wrong, I'm sorry to everyone else who's been on it, but the correct answer is Phil Brown.
Well, I was considering, is he a guest or is he like the an interview person?
He's a guest. Different.
He was a guest on the
podcast. He was a guest on the podcast. He got us promoted. He's
obviously Phil Brown. Guest. It was fantastic to hear from him.
Yeah,
and he was so good with answering the questions, because sometimes you get people and they're not really, too invested. But he was great, and he gave us a lot of time. So yeah.
Also, fair play to Phil if he's out there keeping Northampton down. I love that he helped Bristol Rovers cause the most batshit promotion.
Idiots will say that it was the 7th, goal Bristol scored that got them promoted, but intellectuals will say, was it Josh Kay for Barrow?
I don't know who it was, but it was the goal that made it 3-1.
It was Josh Kay, I think. He said on Twitter, if any Bristol Rovers fans want to fund his holiday or something. So.
Yeah. No, I'd have to agree. You can't go anybody other than Brownie, can you? I mean, I just think that obviously viewers didn't see beforehand, but we had massive technical difficulties with trying to actually get him onto the stream. Which, if you were watching the episode and were wondering why he always had his phone to his ear, is because he initially wanted to stream it on his tablet, but it wouldn't work on his tablet. Like, he was just completely muted and we couldn't hear a word he was saying. He said, "So I can do it on my phone, but my phone speaker's buggered, so I can't hear you. So you're gonna have to talk really loud." So I was talking a bit louder. But when it got to the point where we were asking him questions, he's like got his ear to the camera like this. That's why, because he had to do it on his phone when he didn't want to.
Let's save face though. All of our guests were wonderful.
Yeah,
and we'd be delighted to have you back if you're listening.
It's always nice. It's always nice to have. It's always nice to have Baz on. It's always nice to have Baz on. He gives us honest. Especially the first time when he was telling us about like how the Alarms banned him from the stadium and how it was nothing to do with him, and his honesty is appreciated as well. Paul Woodford from the head of the SMC, that was a good one. And then we've had obviously a few fans on that.
The announcer, what's the announcer called again?
Steve Jordan was a good one. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Ozil.
Yeah, John.
South Stand Solo. It was nice having Lee on.
So we've had quite a few.
I was speaking to Lee Walker yesterday. It was nice to catch up with him. As well.
Yeah, we'll try and get a few of you, the fan faces, back on. Obviously, I think I've got an idea for an episode in the summer that might have a few on. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. So I think that was a unanimous one for Phil Brown. Then, if anybody comments their favourite, we'll show it up as well. Favourite game and why? Will.
I narrowed it down to 3. Just by example, I'm going to pick one at the end of it. Don't worry. And I picked Blackburn at home. The takeover happened that night. Obviously, it was an absolute shambles with Bradley Dack and co.
That's been one of my favourite subplots.
They've been shit ever since that day. So my second one was Bournemouth away, because Bournemouth were flying high at the time and everyone thought we were going to get smashed. And fuck them. 1-0 smash and grab, perfect. And obviously the last one, because I'm recency biased, Forest yesterday. But the actual winner is Blackburn. The Blackburn game, because of everything that happened right up to the lead up here, the takeover being announced. The atmosphere was probably the best it's been at the KC in years that one night. And the performance on the day as well was top class.
Yeah, all good choices. Nathaniel?
Well, it's been mentioned before, but I'm going to go Middlesbrough at home. I mean, it's really satisfying when you win a game you don't deserve to win, because I think their striker Sporar, that the Middlesbrough fans love him for some reason, even though he's woeful. He had like 4 sitters, missed them all. We scored that, great kind of fluky goal. with Lewis Potter and Wilkes in the rain. Should have squared it to Eves, and it took him ages to score. But the last 4 games we've had against Borough have all been great, because we had that last-minute winner with Wilkes last season, and we've had Lewis Potter scoring the late goal this season. That game when Jordi Device was playing left wing because we had the ball for the whole second half, that was good. But Borough and I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but and then they scored an equaliser, which was disallowed, and then we went up the other end and scored the second one. So I'm going to go Middlesbrough at home.
Yeah, Blackburn with another mention, same as you will, and then I'm going to agree with both of these comments. Mine is Preston away.
Oh, that's wholesome.
First game of the season. Obviously, there was no fans last season because of COVID and everything. Me and Joel went. It was just nice to be back at football, kind of thing. And the Eves back heel as well. Obviously, a notable mention to that. That was beautiful. And then obviously we went 1-0 down, and you're just thinking, oh, here we go. McCann back in the Championship, kind of thing.
Why did we ever bother getting promoted? Yeah.
Yeah, and then KLP decided to put in a masterclass and sort of put them right to the sword, and we ended up beating them.
Smallwood goal.
Smallwood goal.
Andy Cannon goal.
Grass cutter into the bottom corner, collector's item of an Andy Cannon goal after the Eves back heel. McGuinness with a rare goal from this season with a lovely cross at the near post. And yeah, it was just that whole experience, that whole day, it was great. And obviously our biggest away win this season as well. It's one of the games because I've only attended 4. I went to that one, Blackpool, and then Swansea and Reading at home. I'm going to give a notable mention to Swansea as well because that was like sort of Shotta's first game, and I took my daughter to that game. So like I don't know, I was watching her shout "Come on Tigers" it nearly made me cry, kind of thing. Like I'm taking my next generation to the game, kind of thing. Yeah, it was quite sweet. But no, favorite game was Preston away for me. Like
also,
amazing.
Swansea's a weird one because I'm pretty certain all of us in the podcast were at that game, which is a rarity.
Yes, and we all met up.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
it was very nice.
Yeah, we was. My mum and my sister came as well for the first time in yonks. So, yeah, it was. I think the Swansea game was the game as well where like all the stands started chanting together for the first time in God knows how many years. That was like a beautiful moment as well when we started doing the where the East Stand, South Stand, West Stand thing. Yeah, it was
yeah.
Sort of also like you felt like you were getting the back.
Shout out to I can't remember if it was Reading or Cardiff, but whichever game we finally got Shotta to shout to wave at us.
It was Reading, wasn't it?
He did. He did against Reading.
Was you there, Anne?
I was at Reading.
There.
It was Reading then.
Yeah, it was Reading. Okay. Favorite moments. This can be a goal, a game. It can be literally a moment in a game. Your favorite moment of this season and why, Will?
Right. So we're 2-0 up against Coventry. And they're going to score an obvious goal. It's definitely going in. Fuck you, Jacob Greaves. Causes
blocking the ball with the back of his head while it's on the ground.
Ridiculous goal line clearance I've ever seen that causes the most salt I've ever seen from a fan base for a goal that's clearly proven to not go in.
I forgot about that. That was absolutely fantastic, I must say.
That is still my favourite thing I've seen this season by a
very
mile.
Important win as well.
I can't believe it happened.
Fans were livid with that one. They were not very.
Because it looked, for all the world, to be fair, it was in. And then when you see the goal line technology, which has it about a paper width off the line, I don't think I've seen a better goal line clearance.
It's got the unorthodox way that he did it as well. Like, what was it with
he blocks it with his back?
Away from it.
He blocks it with his back, and then he falls over. Well, because he blocks the first one.
Yeah.
And then it kind of rolls forward. It's still, it hits back Ingram and then it keeps going.
Greaves
and then he blocks it again with his head. It's mad. Yeah.
That's the thing. Greaves is in the net.
I mean, his foot is probably touching the net.
As Atron put himself on Instagram afterwards, the ball had a drink.
Yeah. I've forgotten about that. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's difficult. It's always difficult to find because there's probably like a moment from almost every other weekend that's, could be the moment of the season.
But I can't forget that after that.
Yeah.
That was a very good moment. What about yours, Nathaniel? Why?
Well, it could be kind of ceiling win against Cardiff, or Adrian coming in, but I love myself a deadline day, and I think it might have just been the rumor. It wasn't the announcement. It was the rumor that we might be signing Ryan Longman on a permanent deal, which was my favorite moment of the season.
I would have been fine if you'd said again the Everton goal there. But he's signing.
The fact that because the yes, that's another great image.
Baxter against Birmingham was absolute shithouse masterclass.
Yeah.
It does Baxter.
Because him scoring the Everton goal was great, but he's going to leave still. But he's here forever. He's here forever. He's never going to leave. So until he does for Real Madrid. And so Ryan Longman signing on a permanent deal. How about that? That's fine. I can say that.
Of course you can. Doesn't mean it's right.
You can say it. Doesn't mean it's right.
No, because you might think I'm insane, but obviously Ryan Longman means a lot to me. So it's acceptable that could be my moment of the season, even though you might think objectively he's not the best player.
I just thought you might have gone for one of his goals or something.
Oh no! The fact he was here to stay is more important.
Mine's probably a bit of a cop out, but I can't physically bring myself to say anything other than the takeover. It's something we've waited for so long. Just January entirely.
I don't think of that. Yeah, I don't think of that as a moment. I just think of that as like a.
It was like 10 weeks.
I remember because at Blackpool, we went to Blackpool away, didn't we? Will, me, you, and Joel, and I went and had like a couple of nights out around Blackpool because it was my birthday on the 2nd. But that was really when
that was the last game before it was announced, wasn't it?
Late December, it was announced that it was pretty much going to happen within the next week or so. And I remember when we went to Blackpool away, it was just the atmosphere in the pub before the game, the match. Everyone had turkey flags. It felt like it was actually going to happen for once. After we'd had like so many weeks of it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks or whatever, it felt like it was actually just about to happen.
It was about a week and a half later it happened.
Yeah. We obviously lost to Blackpool, but the day itself was class, and like the atmosphere on the fans, knowing that the takeover was kind of impending, and then the tweet itself. Like I can just remember being at work and popping up on Twitter and seeing the official tweet saying Adjun Media.
I can't remember if I was in Botanic or the Clarendon, but whichever one I was in, I just remember like everyone's suddenly you could tell. Even if you knew the way that the energy just changed. Yeah.
I mean, we've suffered for so long under the previous regime. We don't need to go into it because everybody knows, but
no,
for the amount of time that we dreamt of having somebody take over, and even if they were, not necessarily the greatest of owners, if they were better than the Alams, it was sufficed, you know what I mean? And we've ended up with somebody who's absolutely amazing. And the form in January, we did them couple of wins against Blackburn and Bournemouth and Swansea on a row, and then we got a new manager, and everything felt like it was finally changing, and that we were actually going to look forward to something again, and just that relief that I felt when I saw that tweet officially announcing the takeover was just brilliant. And then the Blackburn game was beautiful, wasn't it? It really was. Like, it was fitting for the first official game from the takeover on the day I think it was announced, wasn't it, in the morning. Yeah, great stuff.
It was announced in the morning. It was about 6 o'clock that it actually got confirmed.
It was quite late, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was because they literally, because we was on TV that night anyway, and they actually interviewed Adjun at the game. I remember on Sky Sports before the game happened. I'm not gonna lie, Ant. I really thought you was going to say seeing your daughter walk out and see the KC for the first time.
No, do you know what that was?
And I'm very surprised in you.
No, because I'm very annoyed with that video because the stewards ruined it. Because I asked the stewards before I did the video if they'd mind just standing towards the side so I could sit in the middle and record her as she walked out past me. They're like, yeah, that's fine. And then instantly, as I started recording, they both stood directly behind me, and I couldn't move anywhere, so that the camera veers off to a side because I'm kind of looking at them like, "What are you doing?" And then as she's walking down the tunnel, I miss half of it because then there's loads of people coming out at the same time, and I kind of didn't get the video I wanted. Obviously, I know what the look was on her face, kind of thing, but I couldn't capture it on the video, and that was really frustrating. But,
I'm just trying to purposely throw a spanner in the entire podcast, to be honest.
it was special. You know what I mean? Because I remember going to my first game when I was around the same age. So the fact that, and especially considering the in-law half of her family are Leeds fans, and we've kind of got that City. She's infatuated with City now. She absolutely loves us. Yeah, I've got her. That's it. We've got her now. She hates Leeds. She sees Leeds now. And she goes, because she loves the Tigers. So I've won in that sense. So yeah, that was a special moment. I do appreciate that. Good shout. But like I said, that video just it ruined it for me. I think that's it for what I got noted down in terms of discussing.
Well, we could go through the contract situation if we want to.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Shotter much longer.
Shotter said, didn't he, that all the loan players are going back. They've had a word with Man U, or going to. I can't remember which one it was about Deschamps, but it looks unlikely that he's going to come. I think Bernard's actually just tweeted out from what I've seen. So it looks unlikely that he's going to come back, although I'd love him to. Huddleston was confirmed, from what it seems, by Shotter on BBC Umberside, because Huddleston's post after the game was like, "Oh, nice to know," kind of thing. So it seems like there was a bit of miscommunication between the club there that, didn't let Tom know that was going to be his last game until he found out from Shotter.
Well, I get that. Surely, because did you think that was going to be his last game?
I was I would have put a lot of money on it being his last game.
Nathaniel, did you think it was going to be his last game?
I would even go as far to say that Huddleston should know that it was his last game.
That was my thought, because I'm sure every fan in that stadium thought he was coming on for his cameo for his last appearance.
Yeah, but you still deserve your professional courtesy to be informed.
Yes. Oh yeah, but the thing is, Shotter had said during the midweek he'd already spoken to all the players who had contract situations.
That's what I thought.
So I would have thought it would have come up on that made those conversations.
Huddleston's tweet makes it out that he didn't have that conversation.
Maybe Huddleston's just a drama queen.
Maybe.
I don't think he's that, to be fair.
Out of the loan players, then, so obviously we signed Longman permanently. Baxter, it looks like we're going to go back in for. Force and Walsh have been confirmed that they're not coming back. They're going back to their parent clubs.
Simon-Esh is staying, probably.
Simon-Esh will probably be signing in the next couple of weeks. I've just got Bernard's tweet up, actually. So Deschamps put a big tweet out and said, it's been a pleasure to play for Hull City this season. I'd like to thank everyone involved, especially the fans, for their constant support and memories I will forever keep. Wishing you guys the best in the future, with a few pictures.
That's nice.
I mean, he might get in Man U's defence at the moment.
I mean, they're all blaming Maguire, and then since he's been out the team, they've been just as bad. This, Champions League winner Varane, who almost gifted Brighton a couple of goals. But it's a Hull City podcast. We'll stay off Man U as funny as
terrible,
though. I'd like to have seen Bernard come back next season.
We don't need him, do we?
He's young.
If he's just going to be backup.
Well, it depends, because if we're going to play three at the back, we will need a couple of centre backs, won't we, for cover?
Well, I guess.
Yeah, but I know
cheaper ones than Bernard.
I know that I remember seeing someone mention that West Ham and other Premier League teams were looking at Bernard, which doesn't surprise me.
Oh, for God's sake!
He's
a
young.
Ham fuck off picking City players up.
He's a young English player, comfortable on the ball in defence. He's going to be coveted, and he's similar to Greaves, to be fair. But I think Greaves will have at least another year with us, hopefully. KLP, I'll ask you, everybody who's watching this, comment if you think he's going to stay or go. Will, what do you think about KLP next season? Is he going to be here?
Give him all the money. Give him all of the money.
Yeah.
Shotter wants him to stay. Adjun wants him to stay. The fact that they both want him to stay suggests that surely they're going to offer him something decent to keep him round.
I think it's a no-brainer that they're going to offer him a contract. It's just whether or not he's going to say yes to it.
I think he will be in the Premier League at some point, but I think it's just slightly too soon. I do think he needs maybe 1 or maybe 17 more seasons at Hull City.
He won't think that, though, will he?
No, he won't. But I think he's younger than obviously Bowen was when he got to the way he was at City. But I think he needs 1 or 2 more years, at least one more at City to sort of keep improving. Because if he goes, because the teams he's been linked with, he's been linked with Brentford, West Ham, Tottenham. Teams like Tottenham, he's not going to be playing.
Yeah, West Ham.
Maybe a bench. Brentford might play every now and then.
He might play at Brentford, yeah.
Yeah, But I feel like if in order for him to keep improving, he needs to be playing regular football, and he won't get that on some of those teams. I mean, what I would ideally do is if he's going to leave, ask for a loan back.
I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we asked Baz, didn't we, when he was last on, and he seemed pretty certain that we're going to lose KLP this summer. And I think it all comes down to the fact that it's his last year next year, isn't it, of his contract?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
So it comes down, doesn't it, to are you going to sell him for what you see as his max value this summer, or are you going to sell him for a reduced fee in January, or let him go for free in summer? When realistically, he's not going to want to sign a long-term contract here because he's going to see his future in the Premier League. So if you offer him a contract this summer now and said, believe in the process, we're going to try and get the Premier League in the next 3 or 4 years, but he's got an offer on the table that says you can be in the Premier League now, he's realistically going to go, isn't he? I agree with you that he needs more time to develop because I think he's got a lot of his game that he still needs to work on before he's Premier League standard. Because Bowen showed that he improved every season, and KLP's doing that at the minute. But Bowen did it in the Championship every season, whereas KLP's only had 1 year. So if he plays to a similar standard next year, and gets more goals and a better team, you're looking at trying to push maybe 17 to 20 goals this time, then he's showing ready improvement. He's getting better. His finishing's getting better. He's making better decisions. But I just don't want him to go and then sort of fade into nothing. Do you know like players do? Like I saw Jack Clark playing for Sunderland in the playoff semi-final in League One. And when he was at Leeds a couple of years ago, he was like the next best thing, kind of, It happens. These players sometimes go to the Premier League too early, and then Timon did it, didn't he? He went to it was Stoke at the time, wasn't it? And then ended up in MK Dons in League One. And you just don't want to sort of see him waste his career potentially. But I'm pretty sure that from what Baz said last time, that he's got people around him that are pretty confident in.
I hope he has.
Sensible decisions, making sure that if he does go, that it is the correct decision, and that if he needs to stay, then he will stay, kind of thing. So I think the KLP one's going to be a tough one that we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled on in summer, because I think we'll definitely obviously offer him a deal. It's just whether or not he accepts it or what kind of money he would get in from somebody else.
I don't think Lewis Potter will necessarily think or decide whether to go to the Premier League or not, whether he's ready, because it could happen that he gets. There definitely will be a bid in for him. And if he wants to go, that we'll probably have to accept the bid if it's big enough, because we can't keep him here if he doesn't want to stay. I think it'll just be. He'll be confident in his own abilities, and so long as it's not to Spurs and it is to Brentford or a promoted team or something where he is actually going to play, then he probably will go. But I just hope that if he does go, then unlike with Bowen, he won't leave us halfway through the season, and we would actually be able to use the money wisely, because with the money we get for him, we could sign a few quality players really for the Championship. But
the difference this time round, obviously, is going to be that, like when we saw Bowen last time, the money wasn't reinvested, whereas this time it will be.
Hopefully,
which is obviously the only positive to if KLP went, kind of thing. You could get easily 4 or 5 Championship standard players from his
I think he will go. I don't want him to go.
I think he'll go. Obviously, none of us want him to, but I personally do think that he'll leave in summer. What about George Honeyman then? Because obviously we're offering him a new deal. I personally think that the change in system since Shotter's come in hasn't benefited Honeyman whatsoever, and I'm quite worried that he will get an offer from somewhere else and be like,
is the system we're using now the system we're going to be using in the summer?
Yeah, that's the question.
Next season, I don't think it is. We're going to sign fullbacks. We're going to play 4-3-3, I think.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the season, when Honeyman came back into the team, McCann's version of the 3-5-2 allowed us to have like a sort of a triangle in midfield with Smallwood and Doherty holding, and then Honeyman is at number 10. Shotter's version has like 2 in that sort of attacking midfield position rather than out wide, where KLP and Honeyman operate. But Honeyman's pushed further out wide, and I don't think we get the late runs into the box that Honeyman had at the beginning of the season when he was scoring goals. Like, he scored 5 goals this season. He scored more this season than he did last. His late runs into the box were so dangerous, and he sort of catapulted us into some form in this system. And it's like we found his golden position. But since Shotter's come in, I don't think he scored, has he? So, we've kind of seen him isolated on the right-hand side, and I don't think we're seeing the best of Honeyman in this system. So, like we say, it depends on what he plans to play next season. He did say 4-3-3, didn't he? Yeah, just coming here. He did say that 4-3-3 was his preferred formation, didn't he? So if we resort to that, then maybe you get the best out of him again. But
yeah, I think so.
What do you think, Will? Do you think he's staying? Do you think he's going?
Staying.
Yeah, because they have offered him the deal, haven't they? They've confirmed.
I think Honeyman will stay.
Because does his contract expire this summer?
He'll have a.
It's one of the ones that has the extension available.
Oh, yeah. So he'll definitely be here next season because they'll extend it if not, won't they? But I mean, he deserves a new contract. He's been arguably our best player for the last 2 years. So, if anyone deserves a bumper rise, it's him, definitely. So let's talk about we're happy with the loan players situations rather than, we want Baxter to come back kind of thing, but unlikely that he's going to.
It's not happening.
So Huddleston's confirmed gone. Is there anybody else that's been confirmed to leave?
Don't think so.
Not really.
There's just Aliar in there that we need to either confirm or deny whether he's staying or not.
I think Wilkes is an interesting one because Shotter said he wants him to stay.
Wants to keep him, yeah.
But will Wilkes want to stay? And will anyone want to pay a reasonable fee for him?
Well, I thought the comment was interesting.
He'll go to Peterborough, though, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
He's off to Peterborough with McCann.
This is the obvious choice.
I mean, the comment from Shotter was something like, it was like, I want him to be here, but we need him to want to be here too. So that sounds like, obviously, since Shotter's come in, that Wilkes has expressed some desire to maybe move on in the summer. But I mean, it's one of them with Wilkes. I wouldn't be bothered if he left, and I also wouldn't be bothered if he stayed, because I'd be quite happy to see him try again next season to sort of hit the ground running again and try and get back up to those levels we know he can be at. But if he moved on, I also wouldn't be gutted because he's been another example of a player that had, astronomical potential and sort of never realised it with us, which is a shame. But what do you guys think? Is he staying or is he going, Will?
He's going. He's going back to Grant.
But Peterborough need to replace Dembele because they weren't able to replace him in January. They'll sign Wilkes probably.
For League One, Wilkes is a great choice because he's shown at League One level he can be a very good goal scorer.
Yeah, there'll be a strong side, Peterborough, so you're probably getting them.
It makes sense for him to go to his manager who had a lot of faith in him.
Maybe the only manager that does.
There's a couple of championship clubs after him, though, as well. The Birmingham and Middlesbrough were apparently looking at him.
That surprises me. It really surprises me.
I don't necessarily. It might not even be true. I mean,
the Middlesbrough one does, because I'm sure they use a 3 at the back system, so they must be planning to use him as a striker, because they surely can't be planning to use him as a wing back. But Birmingham, I can see him going to Birmingham. I can see that there being some truth in that
one. Going to Peterborough.
We all know. He'd probably go to Peterborough. Grant will want him back. He's Grant's love child. He had him at Donny. He had him with us. Grant likes signing all his former players, doesn't he? So he might come back for a couple of hours. He could take Cannon. Randall Williams is an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's unlikely to probably feature next season, depending on again. Because I actually liked Williams in what I saw of him. He's very fast, which is a huge plus in this league.
Would be a good backup.
Yeah, if we play the 4-3-3, especially because he's quite adept at cutting in on his left, isn't he? But that probably depends again on the Wilkes situation and stuff. Because we'll probably see a couple of players go out on loan next season that he's not really fancied. Trying to think about anybody else.
We can always come back. We can always come back to this because there'll be lots of summer signing news.
We can always mention something different. I think we've pretty much covered most stuff then, haven't we? So next season,
we're not doing predictions yet.
We're not doing predictions yet, no, because we've not made
God.
any form of
12th.
No. I was going to say, like, are we expecting a lot more
21st
season next season and probably a top half fight, hopefully. So it's going to be a very interesting summer. I think we should all try and enjoy the summer because it's the first time in a long time that we're probably going to see quite a bit of money spent because I'm sure he said 8 to 10 players he needs. which is going to be some active window. Hopefully, you get some in early because then they get a pre-season and get used to everything and are a bit stronger. And also, has anything else been mentioned about the fans that are going on this 5-star holiday?
I think they might have changed it to doing like 4 trips now, maybe.
Oh, because
I've not heard anything.
The whole city plane has appeared, so I think that they're going to announce something soon because there's
I think that's
struck a deal, hasn't he? Yeah, with one. Yeah, but it's only with one aeroplane, isn't it?
Burnsy said that they might have switched it to doing several trips rather than one go.
Which would probably be smarter.
Which will make more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably not in June, apparently.
Because otherwise you'd end up with like a whole airport section just full of all City fans, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be a mess.
But yeah, that'd be interesting to keep an eye on, see how that unfolds. And podcast related wise, obviously we've got our new S66 website store. So we've got the hoodie, we've got a snapback cap now, and also these tops are still available. Similar to the shirts, the other items will also be contributing money towards Andy's Man Club, which is, in case you don't already know, mental health charity for men. They offer support groups for people who are struggling, and you can go in on a Monday night and basically chat, have a safe space to do so, and kind of offload any troubles that you've got. So it's an amazing charity to contribute towards, and we're proud of doing so. The giveaway, which was active for 4 games, I think it was, and we didn't get a single correct score prediction. So we've changed it now. So you're going to get a guaranteed winner on the next one, because all you need to do is basically the same steps.
On the next one? What, in August?
No, I'll announce it in like the next week or so. But I announced it quite late today, so it's not really a chance to gather momentum. But I'll share it about again. It's basically the same steps as the other times, but instead of predicting a score, you just have to show us that you've subscribed to the channel, because we are devilishly close to 200. So if we can get to that 200 mark before the start of next season, that'd be brilliant. And all I've got to say really is thanks to everybody who's listened to us, because from last season to this season, we've kind of the numbers have jumped up a lot. We've received a lot of support from people. So if anybody enjoy the pod, or you don't enjoy the pod and you want something to happen, do tell us. I do encourage full sort of feedback, because nothing can change unless I'm told about it. So if you want something adding, try and let us know, and we'll see if we can incorporate it. We've got a couple of guests that want to come on that we'll try and do so. We'll try and figure out some sort of way through the summer, because I don't ideally want us to do nothing until the next season, but it's also hard to do episodes when there's no football. So
you can't do the World Cup.
No, we can't do the World Cup this time. So we'll have a look. I'm planning a big episode of some way, shape, or form that'll get a few people on. So I'll see if I can get that in the works. And then obviously thank you to the sponsors, 6 Yards Out and Candy King, who we encourage you to obviously visit the websites at least and give them a go, because they are fantastic in the support that they've given us this year. And I won Podcaster of the Year. That's very important. Took it off Will. Snatched it from the jaws of Nathaniel. He was catching me up towards the end, which is quite... I was watching like the last 25 minutes of the poll, and
sad bastard.
Your percentage was creeping up behind me. It was only
I didn't even know it had been... The poll was over.
Quite frankly, I also did not know it had been posted. I think there's a conspiracy right there for a start.
Oh, do you? Yeah, you really do.
Well, I don't need to be fair.
Just because you finished level with Joel.
I won this poll by a lot.
It doesn't matter.
So cheers for anybody who voted for me. So other than that, I think we pretty much covered everything. It's going to be an interesting summer. Hopefully a good season. We will be back for season 3 of the Tull and Back, and hopefully a couple of new additions to sort of spruce up how good it looks. And I'm looking at a new intro possibly as well. So cheers for everybody for listening. Cheers, Will and Nathaniel, as always, for joining me. And I will keep your eyes peeled, obviously, on the giveaway and our social media channels for whenever we're next doing an episode, when and if that happens. But cheers for listening, and goodbye.